Hello, good morning. How are you all doing, lovely listeners? Welcome to another episode of Cat the Monologue, the show where we are unapologetically loud, and I am your host, June Robinson. I think the time right now, when I'm recording this, it's around 6 or 6 a.m. I have been working on this episode since Saturday evening, actually. And it's not my norm. I actually was going through the list of topics that I had written down to cover this period, and it's topic number 8. I was going through it and I saw it, and I was like, oh my god, how lovely of me to have written this, because today's topic has been popping up on my socials for a bunch of reasons, just everyone giving their opinion on things. And I was like, I want to talk about this because it is something that has affected me. And I want to ask my friends what they have experienced with this topic and how they have overcome the challenges that this comes with, how they have managed to come out of it as conquerors. And if not, what are they doing about it, or what are they not doing about it? So today's topic, or today's episode, let me put it like that way, because topic sounds as if this is a lecture and people are taking in notes. Today's conversation is going to be about body talk. And we are going to have a talk about our bodies and how it impacts us, from our body size to the pigmentation of our skin, and how that affects our day-to-day life, how that affected us growing up, how it probably is still affecting us, and how is it that we can face this. If it's a challenge or if it's something that you are facing in your life, how is it that you can approach this issue so that it's no longer something that's putting you down, but it's something that is motivating you to be better. So, first and foremost, I would like to start off by saying, when I was asking, and something that I noticed, when I was asking a majority of my friends, like, what is it that like, have they ever faced any body issues? Um, have they ever faced esteem issues due to their bodies? Did they have challenges growing up? And how did they address these challenges? Or if they haven't, what is it that they feel is still putting them to be in that position? A majority of them, from the responses they were giving me, was from the perspective of body size and how plus size they were, and how maybe skinny they were, or how they've never had issues with their bodies. And I am appreciative of the responses. But when I personally am looking at our bodies, I am looking at everything from our body size to our skin pigmentation. And I never understand why the two are usually separated. Maybe it stems from the science that people learned from when they were kids in preschool. But the skin is part of our body. The skin plays a role in how our bodies are viewed as. And so that is just something that I would like um to just clarify, is that we when I say I'm having a body talk in this episode, it also encompasses our skins, the complexion, the the pimples, if they're there, the softness, if it's there, the oiliness of the skin, the dryness of the skin. How is it that this has impacted you and your self confidence, or you and how people view you? So, I want to start off by saying, um, our bodies are essentially the first thing that someone sees whenever they meet us. Our bodies act as an introduction, a self introduction of us to whoever it is that you're talking to whoever it is that you meet on the street or you meet in your places of work. Your body is what introduces you even before you say hello. And so, how someone views you greatly affects so many things that come about from that. And the first thing that boosts this is the confidence that you have. Confidence says a lot about an individual, how you walk, your poise, your posture, how you sit. It says a lot about you and how you've moisturized your skin, how you've taken care of it. And it may seem like the obvious things, but then it's not that obvious to other people. And that is essentially why I want to talk about it. So I asked a couple of my friends um, if they have ever faced body issues and everything, because in this podcast so far, I am the sole conversationalist. So, in order for me to get a voice from different people, I always go to my friends and I talk to them and I ask them if this is something they've ever faced so that I can be able to know and to gather my notes and know how I'm going to put this across. And I asked both the men and the women, and I'm super happy about the responses that I got, especially from the men, because whenever we talk about body issues, a majority of the time it's always associated to ladies and having their self-esteem a little low. You're probably skinny and you want to get plus size, and or maybe you're skinny and you want to have that nyash, you want to have that booty, you want to have the boobs popping out, and no one really thinks about, oh, like men actually do have body issues, they do have self-esteem issues. Like, how do they tackle it? You never sit down and you think, oh, a guy is probably also having self-esteem issues. And as is the norm, I am never going to reveal the names of the people who I ask. I'm going to share um a response that I got from one of my friends. So the first question was, have you faced self-esteem issues associated with your body? And the response was absolutely. As a teenager, this is from a guy, this is from one of my guy friends. Absolutely. As a teenager, I always perceived myself as slightly overweight. In my early 20s, I gained weight more steadily and I became grossly overweight. At some point, I weighed 95 kgs when I should have been weighing 63 to 76 kgs. Being overweight greatly affected my self esteem because I could not dress up the way I wanted to. Many of my clothes simply did not fit me anymore. Occasional insensitive comments and jokes about my weight from acquaintances, friends, and family also negatively impacted my self esteem. So, when I read it like that, you would think, oh, such a textbook answer. But I got to talking, and it's something that did affect him. He gained weight, and all of a sudden, he was no longer attractive. He was the fat kid on the block. He was the kid who people could poke fun of. We have this thing. Um, we used to have this thing growing up in Nairobi where the fat kid was always the goalkeeper. I do not know why. I do not know how it was well articulated on the streets of Nairobi, but growing up as a kid, that was the norm. And we would think, as kids, you don't really think much about it because you're just like, oh, you're the fat kid. You probably can't run. You're going to slow us down. Stay at the post. You're big enough, so it won't be easy for the ball to pass you. But then when you're growing up and you're starting to um, get more into adulthood and reading more and getting yourself exposed more and more to concepts in this life, you understand that, okay, whatever we were doing as harmless, it probably rubbed the other person off in the wrong way. And since the other person was also a kid, they probably were not able, or they did not think that they were in the position to speak out and be like, no, I don't want to be at the post. I want to try out and play in the field. Why doesn't someone else sit at the post? And we're like, oh, we probably did a number on that kid uh, with their esteem issues. We probably contributed to that person not having good confidence. Sorry, I took a pause. I am on my final stages of my flu, and it is I still have a cough. Yeah, I still have a cough. I feel like I say that in almost a couple of my episodes. I have been having a cough. Anyway, that was a lovely side note. Back to the conversation. And as I was saying, what we may be doing harmlessly as kids, but then upon growing up, you discover that, oh, this probably did a number on this person. And it's the same even for females. We used to have um, plus sized ladies in my classroom, and even the nicknames that we would give them, or the nickname that we would call them, they were harmless at that time. But then I am sitting here and I'm thinking they probably were harmless in that stage of our lives. But then what about if this person grew up, went to a different stage, because that was preschool? What if they went to high school and they again found people who would call her that? And there's a lot of things, a myriad of things that happen when you are in high school, especially when it comes to personal development. That's where you have development of your self esteem. At that point, you are surrounded, especially for the Kenyan education system, where you go to a boarding school and it's an all girls school or it's an all boys school, and you are surrounded by all these different men, and maybe a majority of them have a particular physique that this society has termed that as the standard of beauty. And here you are, an individual, and you're on the outside, and you are like, how do I fit in? In most cases, you either end up being the funny person, the person who is in this one, two, three different clubs trying to fit in, or the people pleaser, because that is your way of coping with the fact that you are not based off of the society, you are not attractive. And even for the skinny people, even for the people who are tiny, because we are not, it's not, we're not in Western world where being skinny, as I would say, is considered as a sign of beauty. With the country that we are in, you have to be skinny, yes, but you still have to have some ass. Your booty still needs to be popping even when you are skinny. Your tits need to be popping even when you're skinny. You just cannot be flat out skinny, because immediately a majority of people do not see you as attractive. And I know people are gonna say it doesn't matter about what people think about you and what people are saying about you, but then when 100 people against one say that, or 1,000 people, or 10,000 people, and it's against one, yeah, it's really hard to be a lone ranger against those numbers, and you find yourself succumbing to this whole charade of wanting to be skinny and have a popping ass and have popping boobs and have a tiny waist, and it messes you up, because as a growing woman, you suddenly feel as if you're marginalized when it comes to even the tiniest things, as the dating world. All of a sudden, you're not attractive to a majority of men. And this majority of men could be the people who you want to be attractive to. And I know I'm going to get comments like, but then if you're not attractive to a particular group of people, there's a group of people who you are attractive to, right? But then what if the group of people who you are attractive to, they're not attracted to you because of what society has deemed to be the appropriate body size for you to be found attractive? So these people, they no longer care about who you are as a person. Your body has already introduced yourself to them, and how your body has introduced yourself to them is as someone who is not attractive. And there essentially is nothing that you can do about what people like and what people want. There is nothing that you can do about it. And that is not even a conversation that I want to dive in. But it comes back to, what can you do about it? Are you going to continue to chase this societal standards, or Are you going to find what makes you happy? Are you going to find your joy in your body and how it looks like? How are you going to build your own confidence? How are you going to make sure that, in as much as this is what the society wants, this is who I am, and who I am makes me confident, makes me happy, makes me feel complete, you know? And not only when it comes to body size, but also when it comes to skin complexion. The lighter you are, the more beautiful you are. Apologies, correction. I want to say it like this: the lighter you are, with no blemishes, you do not have a sign of a pimple, you do not have a sign of a scar, you do not have any sort of blemish on your face, the more attractive you are. It's like it goes down on a hierarchy. And until recently, a lot of dark skinned ladies were not getting that much love. They were not getting the publicity that they wanted. They were not considered beautiful. And we had a thing in Nairobi where it was going like Rangi Atao. And the Rangi Ataos were the light skinned ladies. And for the rest of us, because I'm also not a light skinned lady, we were not Rangi Ataos. We were just, some girlies with some skin color over here. And something that was just a rave on Twitter suddenly became a norm. And suddenly the dark skinned ladies were labeled the VNAGs. And whenever someone says, oh, nenda kwa kienyeji wangu, like the first thing that pops in your mind is, oh, must be really dark skinned. And it's like, how does that impact you? And as I've said, there really is nothing at all that you can do about someone else's preferences. How this person's preferences have been affected and have been influenced by the environment that they are in, that is not something that you can do. It's more so about what can I do as a person. So little story time. Um Growing up, like as a kid, I was plus. I feel like everyone is usually fat when they're a kid. Anyway, now let's talk about this other part of life: the preschool, the high school, the campus life. I was the skinny chick. I was always the skinny girl. I have been skinny my entire life. And I never had issues with me being skinny. Like, it never even occurred to me that maybe I should be having low self esteem because I am skinny. With I did used to have an ass, but it was never like, oh my, like an in your face type of ass on a skinny person. It's just there. And now that I am done with school and I'm working, I started putting on weight. And I have gained weight quite noticeably. Personally, I never really felt the weight coming in, but just people telling me like, "Oh my god, like you look plus size right now, and you're not as skinny. Like, what is your secret? And what are you doing? And everything." And I was just happy with the compliments because the compliments were nice. They were like, "Oh, you're looking amazing. You're looking way better than you are when you're skinny," and stuff like that. So there was at a point that I was so annoyed with me getting, with me putting on the weight. And this is because there was a lady who insisted on me telling her what it is that I have done. Because for some reason, in her head, in her mind, she had created the narrative that as June, I could not gain weight naturally to look the way I look like now. She was like, just tell me what you did. Sit and be a watu. Like, what did you do? And I'm like, I don't even know what I did. Probably I stopped skipping my meals. Probably started getting serious with my food. I don't Probably I am at peace right now. Probably I'm in my happy phase. I don't I and my body is responding to my happy phase. I don't know what I did. The way she insisted, it made me feel like, wow, like you actually, like it made me feel like, do people actually look at me gaining weight and they think that I did something? Like I probably took those body enhancers or whatever. And I'm just like, wow. And in that moment, I hated myself being plus. And all this while I never had an issue. And but in that moment I hated myself being plus, because I was like, if this is what people are thinking, I don't want that associated to my personality. I don't want that associated to my name. And it took me a while to be like, why is what this one person saying, or why is what this one person said really affecting me? I know I did not do anything to my body. I know that my body just started changing on its own, because in all honesty, I do not know what happened. I do not know what changed. I do not know what I did that was different. If it's eating, I've always been a foodie. I'm always eating. Like I do not know why at this particular point in my life my body changed, and all of a sudden I am no longer the skinny girl. I am somewhat petite or plus, whatever you may say. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, how many of such comments do people receive out there? Be it skinny plus, light skinned or dark skinned, how many of such comments do people receive? And they're like, wow. And it rubs them off the wrong way. And because for me, it only took one person to tell me, and me being like, what? And I have never been someone who has issues with who has self-esteem issues. I've never been someone who is affected by what people say. But for some particular reason, the words she chose and the way she was saying it made me be like, what? And now I'm thinking, what about these other people? What do they get to hear, and how do they get to deal with it? And it's like, I cannot change, you cannot change what people think, what people say, what people perceive to be the truth in their minds. You can simply change what you think. You can simply change what you perceive in your mind to be the truth. And if you're confident in your body, who is the second, third person to tell you that your body is not good, it's not attractive? Who, if you feel comfortable in your skin color, who is the second, third person to tell you that you don't look, that your skin tone is not good, that your skin tone is not wanted? And I get it, it's hard, especially when all your entire life, all your life, sorry, it's hard, especially when your entire life people have been saying that the people who you do not look like are the standards of beauty, that the skin tone that you do not have is the standard of beauty. I get it. It is hard. But at some point, you need to get out of what people are saying and get into what you are. And people say, like, think about the person who you are, think about the person who you want to be in the future, and start showing up as that person. And if the person who you want to be in the future is, oh, you have such a lovely skin tone, show up as someone who has a lovely skin tone each and every day. If the person who you are is, my body is the standard of beauty tomorrow, today, make sure you're showing up as if your body is the standard of beauty. You do not have to care about what they say. You do not have to care about what that group is saying. That should not bother you. And it's not easy said, easy done. I know it's easy said, hard done. But at some point, you have to look for that courage. You have to look for that esteem building in you, and you have to act on it. Because while you're sitting here in your corner and you're sulking and you're like, oh, people don't like me, I am too dark for this dress. I am too dark for this shade of lipstick. Because I am a dark skin, I should only like be working with these products. The world is still moving, the world is still revolving, the sun is still shining from the east and setting in the west. If it's rainy season, it's still going to rain. If it's hot season, the sun is going to shine the hell out, and you're still going to be here in your corner sulking and letting all the other beautiful things in the world pass you. And it's about that. It's about making your decision. You have to find your own motivation and change the narrative. For me growing up, I feel like my family had a major role, played a major role in the confidence that I have on so many things, body and skin tone being one of them. My dad, if I tell you, my dad used to tell me that I am going to be a model and I'm going to be the most beautiful model on those runway, you would think I am joking. But my dad essentially used to pump me up with confidence. He used to be my number one hype man. And even my brothers and even my other siblings, we generally we used to pump each other up. And so I am lucky, I am fortunate enough that I was brought up in an environment where my confidence was boosted by the people who I lived with, by the people who showed me love firsthand, by the people whose opinions of what I look like, what I do, what I'm thinking of mattered the most. But I am not blind enough to not be aware that there are some people who do not have what I had. You know, that for them, their families were the people who are tearing them down. And I know that does a number on you. And you feel like if this is someone who I live with, if this is someone who I know has my back through and through, and this person is the one who's telling me I'm not looking good, then I'm definitely not looking good. But I want you to change that. You look good. And I know there's that whole borderline of oh, like if you're fat, you're promoting um unhealthy living standard, and you're likely to die from diseases and all that. And like that is there. Me telling you to be body positive does not mean that I am telling you to ignore health s- signs that put your health at risk. Because there are also people who die from malnutrition, but for some reason we always ignore that and only talk about people who get health complications from being plus size. And it's like, okay, wow. I'm not telling you to ignore health signs, but I'm telling you is there's a difference between caring about your health and not having and not being confident. Be confident. If your body introduces you to a particular group of people and that group of people does not like who you are because of your body, they were not meant for you. There is someone else who is meant for you. There is a different organization that is meant for you. There's a different partner who will be meant for you. There is someone out there for everyone. And that's it. That's my talk for today. That's my conversation for today. Thank you for listening. I know I've ended so abruptly and I'm even feeling it. I'm even feeling like, oh, June, you've ended this conversation so abruptly, but it's because I'm feeling as if I'm beginning to become redundant and I do not want that. So thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. Actually, before you leave, something has just popped up into my mind. I was saying, if you were not lucky enough to have the luxury that I had of having your family members hype you up, change that narrative. Be the number one hype person to the other people around your life, the other people who you know that your opinion matters. Be the number one hype person for them. Be it your kids, be it your siblings, be it the your best friends. change the narrative, be that person for them. It really goes a long way. We never think about it as kids, or we never think about it in the moment, but later on, when that person is sitting down and they have like a memory flashback, they're like, oh, whatever that person was doing really hyped me up. And with that, I would love to officially end this episode. If you got confused, I'm sorry. I'll try and do a better job next time of um not confusing you. If you loved this episode, leave a comment down below and make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms. We are Cut the Monologue on every social media platform. That is on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. We are at Cut the Monologue. And on this show, the hashtag is and forever will be, at least for now, unapologetically loud. Until next time, I was your host, June Robinson. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all. I love you all deep. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. Leave your comment, share, follow. Mwah.